to be the quarterback. You need receivers, wide receivers, and we're going to traditionally be 80% of the time we're going to have 2 wide outs. We'll get in oversets and that type of thing. But he wants 2 runners in the backfield. He wants 2 runners in the backfield. There's a lot of there's a trend toward the 1-back set, but we have a philosophy that we want to have 2 runners in the backfield, and that's our starting point. The next thing philosophically we want to do is we want to be physical. Just because you are a throwing team or a team that's going to be half and half, we want to be as a physical a football team as we can be. I think we've proven this. I think if you ever have a chance to play Miami, University of Miami, you will see that they are a very physical football team. Just because you throw the football does not mean that your receivers, that your linemen, that your running backs cannot be physically intimidating football players. And that's something that we recruit for, that we coach for, and that we strive for. I had the good fortune of being around a player that played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year, Lawrence Dawsey. Lawrence Dawsey was a wide receiver for us at Florida State. And Lawrence Dawsey was one of the meanest football players that I've ever been around. And when you get your skill players, your running backs and your wide receivers playing physical football, when they got a chance to block, when they got a chance to crack on a safety or crack on a linebacker, when they go in there and they splatter that guy, that's going to make those guys that are working in the trenches work even harder and have even more respect for them. So that's something that we work for and we strive for. So we want to be a physical football team in that respect, even though you may be involved in the passing game. The next area, philosophy-wise, is discipline. Now that's a broad word, and we all hear that. We've all heard it in athletics. In my opinion, the team that's going to win the game is the team with the best players. We've heard that. We've all heard that. But I take it a little farther. It's the team with the best players that do what the hell they're supposed to do within the framework of the system that the coach has implemented. So I think that's very important. If you teach a young man how to carry the ball as a runner, which is my job, he's either going to do it or he's not going to do it. If he fumbles the ball and you're able to look on the film, we have close-up film and wide angle and side angle and end zone, you can pretty much pick up why he fumbled that football. So if he does what he's supposed to do, then he minimizes the chances of fumbling that football. If that quarterback has a read where he's supposed to look inside, he's supposed to check this receiver here on an inside cut and go to this receiver on an outside cut, then he's supposed to do that. In fact, we were just breaking all our film down this week, and we had an interception. Any of y'all that went to the Michigan game here this fall, we got a good lead, and we got a chance to really go up early in the game. And our quarterback throws an interception inside, and as we're breaking the film down, as we were going back over here last week, our quarterback coach noticed that his shoulders were really turned. We had a slant pattern to the inside, and the tight end was in motion into the flat. He noticed that those pads were really turned. He said, well, there's no way that guy could have been looking at that inside receiver first, which was his read. So he could tell that he looked outside at the flat guy first, then wheeled inside and threw the slant a little across his body, and then they had the great linebacker. He intercepted it and ran down. But then that's going back to not doing what you're supposed to do, and it got him in trouble. So again, you've got to do what you're supposed to do, and that is our job as teachers and coaches to explain to these guys, this is why you got to do it. And if you don't do it this way, this is what the consequences are. Because most of us, well, all of us are older than they are, and All of us have been 20, 18, and 19-year-olds before, and they haven't. So we've got a little advantage on them. So do it right, do it hard. Or in practice, you're going to do it again. That's our philosophy. We're going to do it right, or we're going to do it hard, or we're just going to come back and do it again. We'll script practice. We'll go into a practice session. We'll have so many plays that we want to work against certain defenses. And if we have one or two guys mess it up with the first team, they don't do it right, we come back and we make them do it right. If they don't do it hard enough, we make them do it again. If we do not finish the script, we come back after conditioning at the end of practice, and we take the whole offense, and we do it again, and we get through that script. We do it exactly the way we're going to do it. So we're going to work on that area. With diversification, you have a lot of offense. You have a lot of offense. And the thing you fight as a coach, when you have a lot to cover, because you are accountable, you have a lot to cover, and heaven knows they run a lot of defenses out there that you have to perfect, because you have to simulate for your guys as much as you can your plays against what they're going to do defensively. So you run into a time factor there. That is the biggest problem that we have as a diversified offense. A team that's going to strive to be a great running team, and a team that's going to strive to have a really sophisticated passing attack. So we as coaches have to do a great job of making it as simple as we can. And I think we've done as good a job as you could under those circumstances. Not by any means do we have the smartest players in America at Florida State University. But we try to hone down each week what we do and pick certain plays. We have certain base plays that we're going to run every week, but we're able to go and pull from different plays and use those plays when we want to. We try to make them as close to our base plays as we can. And I think that's helped us. So we're going to try to keep it simple. Now, we have a lot of fights on our coaching staff because we'll have an idea. These three guys, it'll be a grand idea. This other segment coach, he'll get up and start screaming and yelling. But he says, well, hey, he says, my guys are going to have to do all that learning, and these guys aren't going to have to change anything. So there's a lot of give and a lot of take, but I think that's important in a coaching staff, that certain times you have to give in, but certain other times you got to realize that, hey, this would be a great thing, but it might be too much for this particular segment to handle. Then you got to keep the team concept in effect and just give up a great idea, and we've had to do that. The last area that we work on hard is minimizing turnovers. Minimizing turnovers. This year we finished third in turnover ratio in the NCAA out of 103, 106 schools. Last year we finished in the top 5. We have a great defense at Florida State. We're blessed with great athletes. We have a lot of speed on offense. We have a lot of speed on defense. Not necessarily a lot of size. But our defense was a defense that took the ball away, and our offense was an offense that did not turn it over much. We had 4 interceptions, and I think we had 3 fumbles this year. We had one tailback who gained 997 yards and had 36 catches for about another 350 yards. Then we had a fullback. He gained about 400 yards and had about 35 catches. So they're going to handle the ball a lot, but we're going to work at not turning the ball over. With a quarterback, that comes back with being disciplined on your drops, being disciplined on your reads, recognizing what the defense is trying to do to you so you know where to go with the ball. With a running back, it comes back to simply, you got to catch the football, you catch the ball with your eyes, and then when you tuck it away in a manner that we teach you, and you protect the football. That does not mean you don't run aggressively. Now, what do I tell the running backs as far as carrying the ball? Basically, you want your fingers over the end of the ball. Now all these guys watch that Sunday afternoon stuff of these guys holding the ball out here like this. Well, that's not going to do it. So we want the fingers, we want the index finger and your bird finger clamped over the end of the balls, the back point at the inside of the elbow. We want that, that's going to protect the ball from a backward hit and the forward hit. If you get a hit by the linebacker. The ball wants to remain on the rib cage. And we have our track coach come over and explain to us the correct way to run the 100 meters. And the way they want you to run the 100 meters, they want those hands working here and here. But that elbow is maintaining close relationship to the body. So that's just the way you want to run with that football. You want that football remaining on that rib cage right there. So that's going to protect the ball from knocking out this way. Then the next thing you want to emphasize is the elbow wants to remain close to the body, because obviously guys are going to hit and spin and run and that type of thing and fight for extra yardage. So you maintain a close relationship. If you get the ball out here in this manner, the elbow away from the body, there's not a man in America that can hold that football without it getting knocked out. So that's going to protect the ball from an inward hit. A couple of things we work on is when you're running and you're going through a couple of people, a thicket or a maze of people there, at that collision point where you're going to dip and lift and attack, you want the other hand to go over the football. And once you break out in the open field again, that hand can come off and you can use it for balance, stiff arm, or whatever you want to do. So when you get in a thicket of people, you want that ball to be here. And there's no daylight in this cavity right here. You don't want any daylight in that cavity, because if there's daylight in that cavity, then that elbow is away from the body and that ball can be knocked out. So we're going to coach that hard. We're going to coach that hard. As far as catching pitches on toss sweeps, and we had a fumble in the Cotton Bowl. We had a chance really to blow the game open, and they had a safety blitz, and we had it blocked, and it had been a touchdown. But our tailback, he dropped the football simply because he took his eyes off the ball. The ball has to be caught with the eyes. You have to catch the football with the eyes. Fred Bolitnikoff, who was a great receiver at Florida State, played many years for the Raiders, and was coaching out there, and was a Hall of Famer. He used to come back 8 or 10 years ago before he got into pro coaching and work out, and I asked him, I said, what's the most important thing to you as a receiver as far as catching the ball? And obviously, I'll get in a little more here, it's important for our backs to be able to come out of the backfield and catch the ball. He says to catch the ball in front of your eyes. He says as a batter, you don't hit the ball behind your head, you hit the ball in front of you. He says everything you do in sports, you do in front of your eyes. He says, don't catch the ball back here. I said, what if you put the wrong? He says, no. He says, If you ever watched him, he always caught the ball out in front of him. He said, even if you catch it in here, even if you catch it in your chest, it's out in front of you. You'd be running the balls over your shoulders. Don't catch it here. He says, go up and catch the ball in front of you so you can see it with your eyes hit your hand. And that was his advice to me, and it's been very helpful to me coaching. Let's talk a little bit about the I formation. Florida State, we get in the I formation. We're going to strive for two-foot splits in here. We're on the hash. We're going to put our receiver a yard to 2 yards outside the hash mark. We're going to put our fullback at 4 yards. We're going to put our tailback at 7.5 to 8 yards deep. We'll vary our split with our tight end depending on some things we want to do. But we're probably going to be in that formation 60% of the time. And what we like to do out of that formation is we want to run the sprint draw to both sides. We want to run the sweep to both sides. And we're going to run a trap and a belly to the fullback. And we're going to do play action and nakeds off of every run that we have. We're going to have a reverse to both X and Z. And when we got a tight end like we got now, we'll put in a Y reverse to the tight end. We had it from Michigan, but we didn't run it. The sweep is our starting point. Now, we like the I formation because we're able to get good runners at Florida State. We're able to sit them back there at 7.5, 8 yards deep with their shoulder pads square to the line of scrimmage. And we're going to develop blocking schemes for the sweep. And we're going to change that scheme for this front and that front. But we're going to run the sweep. We're going to turn around and we're going to pitch that ball to the tailback. Because our philosophy is if you can get that ball to a runner, get his pads going north and south, and give him some daylight, then he can make some things happen, and that's work for us. That's work for us. If you come up here, let's say the defense that we would love to run it against would be a 4 technique. The linebackers are here. Or we got a support here. We're coming off here with our linemen. You got a 6 technique or a slight outside shade. Pull your guard for support. Stalk the corner. Of course, the free safety is going to be their alley player in that particular defense. Fullback's going to run a track. Inside leg of that tackle, he's going to track that linebacker. That linebacker will be running that gap right there. We want to go through there and we want to cut him. Now this is one play where we're going to dictate to that fullback that we want it to be a cut block and not a dip and lift drive block. We want to cut that man and eliminate that man, and we want to block him on his side of the football. This guard's going to pull, get depth, work for the outside number of this support safety. The tailback is going to take a slow step or a drop step to give the fullback a chance to clear and the guard a chance to clear. And his read is going to be that tight end's block right there in this particular defense. This play is going to end up coming downhill and bouncing out here. We're going to get a full scoop on the backside right here. Pull this tackle right up here as a trash collector. Control these people with the naked and the reverse. So that's how we're going to run the sweep against 4 technique on the strong side. And that's when you want to run the sweep. That's when you want to run the sweep. All right, let's draw up a leverage defense. So you got a 3 technique. Shaded nose. Now you got a leverage tackle. Now this guy is your curl to flat player. Texas A&M run this defense. Had a linebacker in here when God decided to create a linebacker. He drew up Quentin Coriat as number 44 for Texas A&M. That sucker was 6'4", 250, and he run foot to foot with our tailback. It was about 4'5'5". I mean, run him down like a yard dog. But anyway, probably going to be in some kind of weak role there. A defense that we see a lot. Now what you got to do, you got to leverage in right here. It's important that these people come off with a crossover step, get their pads working upfield. You can use your arms. Y'all in high school here, you can use your hands, right? Come off, get that outside hand stabbing that number, extend that thing, and drive your feet up the field. It's very, very important that we knock them off the ball and maintain contact. Maintain contact. This is not an offense. The I formation is not an offense where you hit them in the mouth and go to the ground. not that any offense is, it's so, so important to attack and lock on. Attack and lock on. Keep your feet up under your armpits. You cannot play football or any other sport that I know overextended where your tits get out past you can't tackle, you can't block, you can't run the ball, you can't throw the ball, you can't hit a golf ball out, you can't do nothing like that. So don't get up overextended. Keep your ankles, your knees, and your armpits in a vertical plane. You got those three things in a vertical plane, then you're in a football position. You're in a power position, and you can play football from there as a blocker, as a runner. So these guys want to get locked on and knock them off the ball. Maintain contact. Even though they've got leverage, that has not discouraged us from still running the sweep. Because right now you don't have a strong safety in a true support position. He's in a read position. He may get good flow, but then you can do things like this if you want to keep your guard inside and that type of thing. But as a base rule, we'll just still keep him on the corner. Our centers are able to get this block right here. And again, our fullback is running the track. Even though this linebacker has this gap responsibility, we generally get this kind of flow out of the linebacker in this particular defense. If we get this block and this block, then we're in business. That's the two most important blocks for us in the sweep. Now this particular year, I had a great athlete at fullback, but he was not the best blocker that I've been blessed with. And I think old Quentin had him intimidated a little bit. But we were able to run this play, and we were about 30% on this block right here. But we had a tight tackle and a tight end that were able to do a good job of blocking right here, and we had a good center that could make this block against Texas A&M, and the play was very good for us. The play was very good for us against a defense that should be good against the sweep, and they were the #1 defense statistically in the country. We'll scoop it here on the backside. Control that guy. Fake it here. What we do on the naked, we just fake it right here, and we run routes, bring the tight end across, or we bring him in like that. Same blocking scheme, and then run the naked off of it. Just call it toss naked. Toss naked defense. The only way they can stop it is this man right here has to basically come upfield, because if they just hang there and wait for it, the quarterback, you can't stop it that way. People have not been able to stop that. And then if they come upfield, then we'll get to the belly play where you zone block it inside and bring the fullback on a bend back to the inside. All right, let me draw up one more defense that we face, and I'm sure you do in your high schools, against an 8-man front. All right, now you're going to be working with a 7 technique or a 6 technique. You got a 3 or a 1 technique. You got a 60 or a split 60 or a split. I'm calling a 60 defense where this guy's in an inside shade and the linebacker has a 3 gap. Get a rover and a strong safety, corner, free safety and a corner. Now you got some pretty good angles there. Again, you can see it's very dependent on this tight end being a blocker. Being a blocker, support, tracking the linebacker. Coming off here. Slow step it. Play. Probably going to come out to the alley here. You can do some things cracking the free safety if he's an overactive player. Another way to control him is to run the play action and run the slant on the backside to keep. If he wants to get nose trouble up there too fast, fake that, throw the slant to the backside. That play action. that's the sweep. That's our starting point in our offense. But the play to complement the sweep, is we're going to zone block the belly play, hoping to get flow out of the linebackers. Draw it up against 4 techniques. All right, these two are going to come off here. He'll be coming there. Coming hard here. These two will have these two. And this tackle's got to take a zone step. He's got an inside shade tackle. Zone step. Work his feet up the field. The fullback wants to take a lateral 6-inch step and take a crossover. Full speed. Hitting the inside leg of the tight tackle is his landmark. Quarterback wants to take the ball, reverse pivot, give the action that he's tossing the ball to the tailback who's going to fake the sweep. Fake. Our faking rules are fake. If you're faking laterally, put your backside hand on your hip. So fake here, just put your hand here. Up on the sprint outside the tight end box. Right here, the tackle has, if he's got a 6 technique, he'll take a inside crossover step. Now that crossover, fellas, is not a crossover here, it's a crossover to right in his ball right here. It's about a 2-foot step right here. So if he got a stunt inside, he is not overextended to the point where he couldn't redirect. Now if he feels like he's going to get a strong safety press right here where they're going to do it right here, then we'll just tell him to take an inside zone step because he must protect that gap. If he feels like he's not going to get a slant, then we'll let him go ahead and take that crossover step right there because you get more power with that when you do that inside step. Step with that inside foot right in his crotch. Knock him off the ball. Short step him off the ball. You've got this combination with this tackle taking an inside zone step and this guy, their hips are meshing together with this linebacker coming off. But we're more interested in this guard and this tackle knocking this guy back because we feel like that linebacker is going to scrape out of there with this flow. And then we're telling that back that you're thinking that running lane right there is your first look. And if you've got a crease there, you take that crease and go. If there's enemy jerseys in that gap, then you're thinking this alley right here second. This alley right here second, because more than likely, if you get enemy jerseys in your face, then there's either been a blitz by the linebacker or this nose guard has jumped across your face. If it's just this base defense, though, you'll have the 4 technique, him scraping, and against that defense, this play usually hits right up through there. Now, against the leverage defense, that changes. That's when you get the nose playing across your face. Now this nose guard has got this gap. You got a leverage tackle. You got a leverage defensive outside linebacker. Now this linebacker has this gap right here. Now he's taking a crossover step. His technique changes by the technique of the defensive lineman. They're going to trigger. He's going to come out here, and these guys, they think it's what? Sweep. They think it's a sweep, so they go. Hey. So these people must recognize that. They give a technique call when they come to the line. All right, these guys are working out here. Your lineman here. If you're strong at center, we'll go ahead and step the guard and climb the center. Work here. Now, if this nose guard plays, let's say he cheats over here in an inside shade or gap, then he can call help from the guard, whatever calls you got in your system. You got leverage here, and then these two can tag off here. And we're working hard inside zone step, hard inside zone step. These two will block those two. You're leaving this man unblocked right here. Now we go back to how it works into our system. They got to be concerned with what on the backside? The naked, right? So if they want to run this guy for the quarterback, this sweet little thing will hit right up in there. If they want to hang him in there and play that play right there, we can fake this thing and come out and run her naked. They can't stop both of them. Unless they got Cornelius Bennett, right? They do whatever they want to. But that's the way we've evolved to that. That's the way we've evolved to that. And that's our feeling. So that's something that, as a coach, during the game, that might be my responsibility to look at that. So when Bowden asked me, he says, Sexton, is that Will in? What's he doing? I better know what he's doing, because it's going to have an effect on what he's going to call, or how they're playing that particular play. So that's what we're going. That's how we're going to run it against the left defense.
Coach, what's the left guard doing there?
Okay, left guard is coming with a hard inside zone step. Coach, if he gets inside shade or one technique, and he's coming in there and he's doing the same thing that tight end's doing on a leverage defensive end. He's that guy. I'm the left guard, and that guy's in here. I'm going to take an inside zone step so I can keep my pad square. And then my second step is going to be a crossover power step. I got to do that. I can't come here because then I'm turned. See, I ain't got no power. So I got to take a little inside zone step there so I can kind of square up to him, and then take the power step and just take that hand and just run it right through his right shoulder and just try to push him up the field. I want to keep my shoulder pads square as long as I can. I don't want to block him sideways, then I don't have any power, see? I want to keep my hips square as much as I can in blocking. If I'm blocking a guy here and he's going there, I don't have any leverage, like a turnstile. If I get squared up on the guy, now I got my power, see? Now that tackle, he's doing the same thing. He's coming down inside. So if that guy is now in an outside shade, this guy is now going to come off, the guard's going to come off here together, and then he's going to go up on that linebacker, see? And hopefully that linebacker will flow a little bit with the action of the sweep. And then those two are going to come off and road grade that guy. And they don't always get to that linebacker, I'll be honest with you. But the key is we want to block the down lineman. And then tell those backs, that's why in that next league you get $600,000 a year to run over them linebackers and make you miss them. And if you can't, then we ain't recruiting the right kind of running back. But those guys, you get movement there, you get movement there, and really on this particular defense, if you just trigger these guys outside and you get those two guys knocked or mashed back a little bit, you're going to get you. Because those linebackers, even if they're keeping their pads square, you're going to be able to run through, y'all will be able to run through some arms for 4 or 5 yards on that. And that play this year averaged 4.33. We gained 312 yards on that particular play. The sweep, I meant to give you that, by the way, was average 6.3 yards per rush. Now I do something else on these run stats. I do a proficiency, how often that they are good. In the field, it's a 4-yard run or better is what the standard is. Our sweep was 56% and our belly play was 60%. And like a short yardage or goal line, it's did you make it or not? You know, if it's 4th and 1 and you make it, it's 1 for 1 here. But that's what we. And that's not the best that our sweep's ever done. I mentioned to you in '87, we had some great tailbacks with a lot of speed, and that sweep was almost 8 yards a pop for us. So, but it's a great runner. You get a good runner there at your school, and you feed him the ball in the sweep, and it's a good way to get him the ball 20, 25 times a game. All right, that's against the leverage defense. Now, we're not going to block that wheel linebacker back there. Again, we're going to control him with the naked. This split tackle's coming hard inside, working his pads up the field. Against an 8-man front, again, nothing changes. All right, now we've done this a couple of ways. If we feel like, and again, this goes back to personnel, but if we feel like we got an outstanding player here and this guy is just in a slight inside 7 technique, we will hard inside zone step him. In combination, these people right here do the same thing we did against that last defense there. Step here, coming up here, really looking for the backside. That way we can really get movement at the point of attack. Let's say if you got an outside shade, then this guard right here with outside zone and heat inside zone, so they'd end up meshing hips on that 2 technique. You had a 3 technique or 2 technique. Now if this guy was in an inside shade and he was out here, this guy would have to come here and this guy would come inside looking for the back of the flow. That's what we're going back to the premise that we want to block at the point of attack those 2 people. We want to block those 2 people and then secondarily think about linebackers. We've got to get some kind of flow here, coming at the inside leg of the tackle again. Now, where it changes for the fullback is if you get a lineman here, which they'll do out of this defense, and slant in here, then of course we're stepping the center here to give that guard some protection. If you have an 8-man front team that's doing a lot of that, University of Michigan does that out of a lot of different looks, and you got to protect that because that's a fumble play. If you don't, step your center here, inside zone here, inside zone here. So you're getting a 3-guy mesh there coming off the football at the point of attack. And this fullback is, that guy disappears in there, then he's coming on up here behind his tackle. Then you got to get the cut off there and into place, thinking, right up in that B gap area. So that's what we're thinking against an 8-man front team. But it's been a good play against that defense too. It's been a good play against that defense too. So that's the sweep and the belly play. All right, strong. Because we flip-flop our line. I'll get to the weak side runs after I finish these strong side runs. All right, the next play that we hang our hat on is a sprint draw. Now, I'm going to draw this one up first against the leverage team because that's what you want to run it against. And from time to time, we'll get in an either-or situation where we'll call a play because if you got your druthers, you want to run a sweep against an inside shade tackle, right? If you get an outside shade tackle, you want to run a sprint draw. We've got the leverage here, nose guard, safety, corner for safety. All right. Again, we're going to set these linemen. Not again, but on this particular play, we're going to set these linemen. Come out of, we're not coming off with a flat back. We're coming off with the ball is snapped. We're setting. This is the sprint draw, so hopefully they're attacking us. We set. If they don't attack us, then we got a short step. Go get them. We want to lift them out of their shoes, throwing our hips inside. If they're rushing upfield, then we want to take our inside arm, push them upfield. Push them upfield, create some running lanes. The fullback, as in our sprint draw protection, wants to take open step, crossover like he's going to block the end, and then he's going to climb for the inside backer. We're going to get a combination block between the guard and the center. They're going to mesh hips and they're going to combo the nose guard and the backside linebacker. The nose guard works here. He'll come off late here, then he'll take him here, work him there. set back off the line like sprint draw protection. He comes in here. Keep your pad square and force him down that way. Take him where he wants to go. Set here. Probably got a leverage rusher. Take him. And again, what we want to do here is wheel this man upfield like the tackle and the tight end to the strong side are doing. The tailback's read is simply pre-snap read. Look at the tackle area. The tackle is covered, whether in a 4 technique, a 4-eye, or a 5 technique. Then I know that I'm going to be running the ball from this area back there. So that's where I'm going to run the ball. The nose guard works strong in this defense, and that thing probably is going to come all the way back here. I've seen that ball break there. I've seen it break there against a 1 technique. Against a 3 technique tackle here, I've seen it come up inside there. And then I've seen people that played a hard corner here with a real tight 5 technique on an eagle side. I've seen Dexter Carter and Sammy Smith take a thing and come bouncing down here like a marble, come all the way out the backside for a big game. So that's the leverage we're giving the running back. Once we see that tackle box is covered, we're thinking about running that ball back here. We're going to give him the leverage to run where they ain't in there. They're back. He simply is told this: if you run it out here, if you try to run that ball out here, you got to tackle just wheeling his guy here. So if you run out here and get tackled, that's your fault. And there's nobody to block that strong safety out there in that particular defense. So that's that sprint draw against the leverage strong. Now against the 4 technique. Against 4 technique, that's a good defense to run against that particular sprint draw. You got inside shade, you got a linebacker working to that gap, you got a tight guy here. Your backer here, an inside 4 technique. But it's still an excellent play. As far as the plays that we have, it's probably our best play. And this year it averaged 7.2 yards a carry. A lot of that has to do with scheme, and a lot of that has to do with the great athlete we have here. But it does not take a fast guy to run this play. Emmitt Smith at Florida did a great job of running in college, running this play at University of Florida, and he's doing well in the I formation in the National Football League, running similar plays. Amp Lee, who's going to turn pro this year, he was a 4.75 guy. 4.73. That's the fastest he ever ran. But he had vision, he had great lateral quickness, and he really accelerated it the well, and he was physically a tough kid. But this defense right here, coming here, again, this tackle's got to take an inside zone step. The fullback is now running his track with this guy being an inside shade. He'll get a call from the lineman. He'll come there. We're doing the same technique. Setting and then pressing our feet up the field. These two still have their combination blocks. As you can see with this tackle and inside shade, it's tougher to get the cut back, but then a lot of that goes back on the talent of your tackle. This is a very important position for us. In fact, when we played LSU down there in a mud storm and a rainstorm, and this guy got hurt, and it probably had as much with us being not nearly as effective against Miami and Florida as we could have been. We were not at full strength at that particular position, and that's a very important position for offense. But this tackle's got to come off and press this man up the field. If you get a full-blown slant, then of course he's going to step and just take him down, and the fullback will naturally see that, and the ball will end up in this area, which is not the best of both worlds, because if you have a heavy shade here, you end up bouncing out here, and there's no blocker there, because you have that. But if you can get some movement upfield, you still have the same blocks by these people on the backside, and you still can get the alleys that you want there. But then on the other hand, you say, well, why do people run that defense against y'all all the time? Because the play that complements this is the sweep. If people want to play 4 techniques, that's just fine. We'll run the sweep for their nosebleeds, and we'll drive them crazy with it. So Again, that's how our offense complements each other. So we can control a team with leverage and a team with an inside shade there. All right, against an 8-man front team or against a strong eagle team, all right, you're here, put your back here. All right, now there's a couple of ways we'll do this depending on how they play this man right here. A base way, we're going down it and around it. If this guy's in an outside shade, 3 technique, we down it and around it. He's going to release here. We'll load it here, and in that play we're thinking pre-snap read, nobody on the tackle. And that's going to be a stick it read for our tailback. Then you can do whatever you want to here. If this guy gets in an inside shade, you can do a combination in the center. Or if he's right here, come off and you can zone block it. All right, now, if you're playing a team where they're going to give you a lot of stunting out of this defense, then what we'll probably do, some people when you do down and around it, they bring this guy at this tight angle here to force you to bounce it. So then you can go to a fan scheme, which we have. Now they're going to set here, release here. You're blocking this man here. These two are going to combo there. Now this fullback's going to take off just like he's the same steps, no change for him. Open crossover at that end. Here, I'm coming there. Here, I'm coming here to block that linebacker. In the fan scheme, when you go to the fan scheme, now the tailback's read is that defensive guard there. Read his technique. Play is very good for us against that defense. We'll mix up how we do it. The other scheme that we've had, if we're getting the 3 technique, is we'll cross block it here, still putting our fullback on the inside of the linebacker, blocking the same on the backside. Well, those are the 3 base runs that we have to the strong side out of the I formation. Since we flip-flop, when we want to run to the weak side, we're going to start with a sprint draw weak. Now our sprint draw to the weak side is blocked basically like the belly is strong. It's a zone play. Start with a 4 technique. This particular case. Again, he's inside, he's outside, they're zoning. Those 2, they're coming there. Again, it's important in the I formation to lock on all across the line of scrimmage. Don't get overextended, especially on the back side, because in the I formation, going back to the initial premise, we're giving a player the ball deep, we're giving him a landmark, but we want to give him the option to run this hole or come back here. So backside linemen, especially in sprint draw, it's so important to stay on your man and keep pressing your feet up the field. Keep pressing your feet up the field. Lock on. Even though a guy may be working across your face between, you don't have leverage on him. He's working there and the back's over there. Well, keep taking him here. That back may cut behind you. That's so very important in our offense for our linemen to understand the I formation is not a one-shot deal. Don't pull the trigger and let your bullet run out the end of your gun. Stay on the guy, stay on the guy, stay on the guy. The play's going to come back to you. And that's so important here. You come in here, this guy's in an inside shade. Keep fighting, even though he may have his inside arm free. Keep pushing him up the field, keep pushing him up the field. Because so many times this guy drop steps. He's hitting the outside leg of that guard right there. You'll see on the tapes, this guy will get the ball right here. He'll come up in here. We'll give him that landmark. And I've seen that play come all the way back in here and be a good play for us. So it's so important. These blocks right here are as important as the point of attack blocks on the sprint draw in the I formation. So that's against 4 techniques. We're working against leverage weak. We're working against leverage weak. Then you're really apt to get a cut back. Nose is working here. Come in here, step in here, outside zone, pull back here. In that landmark, he's probably going to see that nose, and that thing's going to cut back there. Thing is going to cut back there. Step and climb up on that linebacker. Again, it's back to that same block we were talking about, this tackle. It's back to that tackle block becomes very important on that particular play. You get an eagle weak. It's an outstanding play. Again, you're coming here. Now your fullback's rule is going to change. Your fullback now is going to come up on the inside. You're going to block big on big. You go block big on big, here to there. Then he's going to come there on that linebacker. We give the back drop step outside leg of the guard. They're playing a tight 5 technique over here. We've gotten that play. Again, set the seed in your back's mind. Explain to him what they're trying to, how they're playing their defense. Give him some options in his mind of where he can run with the football, where they might be weak in this particular set. Obviously, in a 50 set, they have leverage on an open inside. In an eagle defense, if they squeeze down and they play this guy in a heavy 5 technique, they're vulnerable in the alley. They're vulnerable in the alley. A defense that I haven't put up there, but the old stack defense here. Auburn runs it, Miami runs it, we run it at Florida State. Again, generally going to be played with some type of hard corner on the weak side. If this guy plays heavy, again, you have an alley there. You got a chance. You got a chance to stretch this guy. Now you widen him out. When he widens out, he's not as heavy on this guy. And you got a chance to get these linemen off. So you got a chance to stretch the defense there. And that's a play that will do that. We'll particularly attack weak side on an eagle defense and on a stack defense. It's a play you must have out of the I formation against those defenses. Another play, base play that we're going to do out of the I formation. Is the sweep. Basically, we're going to run the sweep just like we run the sprint draw to that side. We're going to zone it. He's going to run at his outside hip. And again, this is going to be a cut block on the sweep. We're telling the fullbacks to cut. The attack, still cut it. Slow step it. Get the ball. You're reading that block with that fullback on that end. Stalking here, trying to get quickly out the backside. Again, particularly good against eagle defense or stack defense. They got leverage here. You got a fast flow. Come in here, angle here. Stalking here, get the pitch, cutting off on the backside. Cutting off on the backside.
Coach?
Yes, sir. Is that it?
9 for 9.
Well, that's the I formation. I didn't get to the 2 reverses. We'll get to that tonight. Hopefully we'll get to some of the tapes.